thank you for joining our QualiWare Users Group meeting for October. My name is Cecile, and I will be your host for the day. Our agenda for today, we have CloseReach news that Kevin is going to update us on in a moment. And then we have our QualiWare and DevOps and QualiWare presentation. That was postponed from our last month's meeting, and that will be Michael Rowe, and Michael will be doing that after Kevin is finished. And then, of course, we have an opportunity for general discussion and questions before we wrap up for the day, hopefully right on time at 4:30. Kevin, I don't know if you realize you're not sharing your screen or if that's on purpose, but you're not sharing your screen, your face, I mean. So if you wanted to do that, there you are. See, everybody likes to see your smiling face. Now you can give us our CloseReach news update.
Okay, so we're like we did last Christmas, or for the holiday season, we're going to have an open house and in-person QUG. So December 2nd from 2 till 4:30. So come a bit early, have some refreshments of various kinds. And
sorry, my fault. Go ahead.
There you go. And so that's a reminder, there won't be a November meeting, the 25th. So the December 2nd in person, it'll be in person and online. So for those that aren't local or don't want to come and see us, I think the people who came last year, found it quite good to chat with other people from other departments face to face. So anyhow, and Sky introduced himself before. He's a new employee with us, part of our support team. Has a background in cybersecurity, among other things. And JR has been putting through his paces with bugs. So thank you, JR. QualiWare update. We have new patch releases out, 10.9.2. We're testing it right now. I believe the release notes are up on the COE, and we'll add whatever else we find through our testing to notes and information that are sent out by the support team. And I believe it is also in the next day or so going to be up and running, or up and available rather, on the download portal. The send server.
Send.CloseReach. Yeah, we'll have that up there tomorrow, so everybody will get a notification tomorrow.
So whether you want to hold off for a day or two before you actually do an install, wait for testing and things like that. Last time we had a patch, I know that a day or two afterwards, QualiWare came out with a patch on the patch. So hopefully that won't be the case this time. And ETA for 10.10 is somewhere around the end of November. And I said, Cecile, add one little smiley face. She added 3.
Interpret that how you will.
Yes, interpret that how you will. So, yeah. So we're expecting that to be out in the next little while. Yeah,
that's right, JR. Yeah, he says November of 2024. Yeah, that's right, JR.
Yes, not November. Funny guy.
Funny guy.
Yep. An update on the GCEA solution contract. So there will not be an RFP moving ahead. So QualiWare will remain as the only tool selected twice by the Government of Canada for EA solution. And we've sent communications to every department currently using QualiWare regarding the software maintenance and contracting for professional services changes that are coming. And a reminder, new and existing TAs. New TAs can be started and existing TAs can be extended till May 31st, 2025. To replace this, we have a few different options. So there's pro services, there's TBIPs, there's SBIPs, which can include software services, training, deployment, all of those different things through the integration domain that we hold. And also another way that should be up and running shortly, and that's on the next page. The GC Cloud SaaS. So we have submitted a class 4, or stream 4 rather, unclassified submission. And that product mix will include deployment and configuration services, support, training, and coaching, as well as the SaaS environment. So we've learned that related to the cloud environment, we can provide all of those different things. So very similar to the GCEA solution contract. And we're working right now to have QualiWare qualified on Stream 1, which is the protected B. We're going to Stream 4, and then we're looking, CloseReach personally as a company is going to Stream 4 right away. And we may actually take QualiWare there as well initially while we go through the longer term thing of getting on Stream 1. But yeah, it was quite interesting looking at all the other companies. There is no other EA solution contract in Stream 4. But the other ones that are there in the unclassified have all kinds of other services. So we're going to be using the supply arrangement for those things. Training update. Business architecture will be running in Halifax, December 2 to 4. We're going to have Roger out there. We had a very successful presentation out there, similar to the one we did here in the evening at KPMG in Ottawa. And our course for Ottawa is going to be scheduled for late January. There was a little bit of uptake on the idea of running one sooner than that, but insufficient to bring Roger here to Ottawa. So we're targeting, our sales efforts are targeting sort of third week of January. So year-end money, if it hasn't been all clawed back, might be available for that. And BPMN training, same thing. We've rescheduled our data visualization because we're doing a major revamp on that course for February 4th to 5th. And our new training aid, the Discovery Repository, is now up on the CloseReach Salsa. So, you know, that is something that we're making available to brand new Government of Canada users. But through the Salsa, you'll be able to receive the ongoing updates that we're putting in there. And there's a lot of stuff.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Okay, so next up, we have DevOps and QualiWare, which I know you've all been waiting for. So I will stop sharing my screen and turn things over to Michael. So everybody, this is Michael Rowe.
Hello, everybody. So I've introduced myself before. I think I should do so again because it's been a while since I've spoken to you all. So I started in CloseReach in January. I'm a software engineer, and I've had the opportunity to also become an enterprise architect by learning about QualiWare. So I have the unique experience to be able to understand how those tie together, and we can integrate solutions with QualiWare, such as Azure DevOps, which is useful for architects collaborating with developers and the development team. So let's begin by having a little bit of a discussion on what is DevOps, and then into what is Azure DevOps. So DevOps is a term that is a collaboration of two words, really. It's development and operations. And this is used primarily for developers again, and it allows them to develop in an iterative manner in a agile environment or Scrum environment with a planning Kanban board and a development pipeline, including testing and an end-to-end solution for development, let's just say, where you can release versions of your software and iterate on that software in a smooth manner while reducing error. So that's going out to Azure DevOps. So DevOps, again, as I said, it's a methodology, and Azure DevOps applies that methodology along with a set of tools, such as version control management, testing, uh, dealing with bugs, package control, a variety of features, integration with GitHub, and support features as well. So the benefits of DevOps, when I refer to DevOps, by the way, I'm referring to Azure DevOps going forward, is improved collaboration between your business team and your software team, and then also reduction in the time to develop software from requirements to release, and the ability to deploy quickly using agile techniques, as well as scaling efficiently your software by controlling what features are developed and ensuring that they are developed using proper development techniques. So that's Azure DevOps, and everybody's familiar with QualiWare. So the goal of this presentation is to show how we can integrate effectively between our QualiWare enterprise architects and managers and the development team. I've spoken with various clients, and they often have complaints that they bring out a requirement for a project, and then they send it along to their development team. They give them the requirements, and the team puts it into action. But quickly, the importance of what is being developed is lost. The scope of the any changes that the architects might want are not communicated properly and effectively, and so there isn't strong collaboration between both. So that's where this solution comes in. So going a little bit further, again, as I said, there's project managers involved primarily that are making the requirements in Azure DevOps, and there are solution architects and then IT employees, such as developers and DevOps engineers, as they call them. And again, these are some of the features that you can do: project collaboration, coding, testing, building and releasing, and support. So we can integrate from DevOps. You can also use DevOps's API to integrate with other systems like Axios, ServiceNow, or other ticketing systems if you like, as well as the previously mentioned GitHub. So why, again, is this important that we have this stronger collaboration between enterprise architects and DevOps? As I said, a lot of the time, business and IT lose collaboration. They want to make changes. They want to be tracking those changes, ensuring what stage the development team is in the pipeline, because DevOps also goes through what are called sprints, sections of work, and the business team wants to ensure that the money's being well spent, that it's on target, within scope, and follows the requirements. So that's that traceability that we're looking for. And as I said, understanding the traceability and information that is coming from DevOps to the architects in QualiWare. So from there, we need to deal with improving to have less debt, less cost, improve timing and understanding as changes occur, so that managers can handle that change, do impact assessments and analysis, and iterate and improve the business requirements as the development requirements change, and vice versa. So that's where we come to the solution here. So Azure DevOps has a number of APIs that are available from Microsoft, and it really allows easy integration through a browser or a JavaScript HTTP request, which is how QualiWare communicates with DevOps. So it's very easy to and seamless to provide this integration from QualiWare to DevOps. It doesn't require additional Azure infrastructure or applications or any involvement from your cloud teams to get this up and running. Just the solution we provide on our discovery repo will integrate with your Azure DevOps environment with just a little bit of setup for your DevOps project, and that's it, just a couple of settings. So what I'm going to be demonstrating today is one such use case. In this case, we're going to be going through a integration that shows basically beginning with an overview of project status and configuration information about this given project that we've set up, information such as what type of, whether it's an Agile or a Scrum environment, change information, broad overview, status information that you might want to have from your development team. From there, we're going to narrow a little bit and have an overview of all sprints. What is the current sprint? So you can track what stage your development team is in right now, and to ensure that they're on schedule. And then I'll show you another stage, which is the details of the current sprint, along with any work items that are tied to that sprint, when they were last changed, and their status for those work items as well, whether they're open, closed, or rejected, or what have you. And then I'm going to show you how to create some items take some objects in QualiWare. In this case, we're going to be taking a requirement model, so a series of requirements in a requirement model, and pushing them, like creating those objects in Azure DevOps as work items. So a work item can be a number of different things in DevOps. It's a feature, which is generally a normal item that a developer might work on, such as adding a new page, let's say, it's generally a minor task or feature. Then from there, we have an epic, which is usually a group of features. It's not a project, obviously, but it's a major feature or release that you're bringing out with a number of different features grouped together that have common uses. Another one that everybody's familiar with is bugs. So we track that in DevOps, and backlog items, which is items that are ready, not yet introduced, but ready to be added into a feature if we want to in the future. The other item that we're going to be moving over from QualiWare to DevOps is a change request object. So in Azure DevOps, you can make custom fields or custom work item types. In this case, we decided to go with a simple solution, which was to add a change request as a formatted comment in a work item. And this change request is tied to a given requirement. So it will look at the requirement and add that comment to that work item for that requirement. So you'll see there's strong integration with all of these. So and in this way you can update changes, add requirements, and also you're going to be able to see that information in QualiWare as well. Okay, so without any further ado, I'll show you a little screen. This is a preview of what it looks like. So let's dive into QualiWare, and I'll show you what it looks like.
Now,
okay, so this is...
Michael, I'll just jump in there for one quick second.
Yes.
While Michael is transitioning over, any questions? If you do have questions, feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat. And Michael, I'll keep an eye on that for you, because I'm sure that this crowd might actually wind up having some questions. So thanks.
Yes. absolutely. Please feel free to, if I'm not explaining something clear or you'd like further detail, let me know. I'm happy to go into it either now or after. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
So here is QualiWare on the web, and this is a requirement model. Now, I should note, you're going to notice right away, this is classic layout, and we are also transitioning this over to the browsing layout, so don't worry about that. But as of now, I have it set up for the classic layout. So, as I mentioned, this is a requirement model, and it has a series of requirements, and they have descriptions. This requirement model is a model of work items in Azure DevOps. So these might be typical work tasks that your developers might be working on, such as creating pipelines, automating their testing, a number of different features like that they might be involved in. So let's begin by looking at the development, the DevOps project overview. So these are 3 projects that we have created in our CloseReach environment. Today we're going to be looking at the QualiWare demo. Here's the description information, when the project was last changed, and also the process types. So that would be Scrum, Agile, or a custom process, and that's what I've created actually. And that's only really because there's just one custom field we've added in. But you can, for all intents and purposes, this is a Scrum, and this is Agile, this is Scrum. You can, if you understand those principles. Okay, so that gives you a broad overview of your projects. So let's go, we're going to now look at the sprint overview for the QualiWare demo project. So let's look at this tab. And so each time I click on these tabs, it's sending in the background, it's using JavaScript code to send an HTTP request from QualiWare to DevOps. And it's using an authentication token. Again, it doesn't need any other application, doesn't need any other information. It integrates seamlessly with your Microsoft environment. So you can see that currently for QualiWare demo, we're in the first sprint. This is a 6-sprint cycle, which is over the next week, the current week right now. And we can see that that's the current sprint. So this is, again, a way to track the progress of your developers. And you'll also be able to give them updates so that you can make sure that they're on target for that. So let's move along to get further in on what you can track. So we're going to now look at sprint 1. This is going to be for that project. And we can see now we're getting to a smaller type of object now in DevOps. These are work items. So in this case, this is a backlog item. This is a bug. And each of them has a description, as well as a state, whether it's new means it hasn't been worked on, or it might say in progress or done. So you can keep track of all your work items in this way, so you have a good understanding of what your developers are doing, right from QualiWare. And you can keep track of when they made changes. And this ID is not tied to QualiWare, it's the DevOps ID. So that will allow you to send information directly to that ID if you desire. Okay, so next I want to show you how we can actually, so we have this model here, this
Michael?
requirements model. Yes.
Michael, I've got just a little question about the previous tab you're on. What is the kind of query you added to that tab to get that result?
What is the kind of query?
Yeah.
So it is an HTTP request to Azure DevOps' API. So they have an API with I can go show again, but they have this API that has all of these different groups of API calls. And in each of these categories, there are multiple API calls you can do. You can do a call that gets work item details, that gets project information, and even more than what I'm showing here. You can get pipeline information, GitHub information, test information. So, or even analytics if you want to analyze that data. And that's really what I'm calling here. I'm calling the work item API to get details. So first of all, for the project information, I call the project API. And then I called the sprint API. And then from there, I'm now using the work item API and some of its sub APIs tied to
And
particular
those
elements.
QualiWare provides like a template that can hold all that information and showing you, because like I'm used to HTML queries of view, generic query in there, but like you show something like that as a complete different interface that I'm used to
Interface
have.
is different from what we used to
Sorry.
see. Yeah.
Right, yes. You're referring to how I'm showing it right now, right?
Yes.
Like what is this object, right? That's a good
Yes.
question. This is not a QualiWare object. I think I should be clear on that. This is JavaScript. So QualiWare is written in JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript, and jQuery, which is a framework of JavaScript. And so one such library in jQuery allows you to render a table. This is an out-of-the-box library QualiWare uses. But when I write JavaScript code, I can call that library and have it look visually appealing. It looks similar to a QRV, but it's not a QRV. It's not any template or object you're familiar with. This is an HTML content tab displaying JavaScript, which renders in HTML. So this is HTML rendered with CSS that's formatted to look like a QualiWare QRV, basically. But you can see actually, so you will be able to have access to the code and you will see that it's using standard HTML to construct a table using the table header, then the table rows and the elements, and it constructs a table in that way. And you can see how it adds in the variables to make a visual table. It's that simple, really. I mean, it's not simple, but you can break it down to its elements to understand those aspects of it using HTML.
So it saves us actually having to create objects in QualiWare. So we can actually show, in the same way that we showed previously how we were able to access Power BI dashboards and manipulate those dashboards. This is, I guess, the analogous analogy to that for DevOps, to be able to show information coming from DevOps without having to impact the QualiWare repository at all.
No, yeah, that's very interesting. Thanks, Michael, for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I should specify, so in standard development, like integration with APIs, we usually, there's four main operations, usually create, read, update, and delete. So right now, this is a read operation. I'm going to show you how to create. And also you could update or delete in DevOps. But you could, there's nothing to stop you from creating a solution that also does the same, taking items from DevOps and updating in QualiWare. So you can do it in reverse as well if you desire. That wasn't the purpose of this demonstration, but you could also update items, update requirements, update change requests based on information from DevOps in this case.
So Michael,
you for your
before you
question.
go on, there's actually another question in the chat from Shashi. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Asking, is there a limit on how many DevOps projects we can connect to from QualiWare, like post SDLC as well, until decommissioning of those projects to follow it fully? And then there's another comment or question about Azure DevOps end of life in December 2024 instead of December 2028 from Microsoft. So, Shashi, I don't know if I explained that correctly. If you want to jump in to clarify anything, Michael, if you've got enough information to answer.
Yep, that was it.
Okay.
Please, if you could.
No, go ahead. So maybe the first part of it, is there a limit to how many projects we can connect?
So to my knowledge, there is no limit on the number of projects. The only limit is your own infrastructure. So your
Okay.
agreement with Microsoft. If you have a massive infrastructure, you can connect to every project in there. So a project is tied to your organization, which doesn't have to be, an organization is a unit within Azure DevOps that you can create that might not be a whole department of the government. It might just be your team that has created an organization. And that holds a large number of projects. I haven't checked the limit, to be honest, but whatever your infrastructure can hold, you can access with this. Or you could access within another organization, or you can access, you could make calls across projects too. You could make a content that displays for multiple projects at the same time if you would like. So there's no limit on that. You can filter for certain projects, just like you're using a SQL query to just determine what information you want to have access to.
Okay, thanks.
So,
I get that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And about
As for
yeah, sorry, I was
and-
just going to say in the comment about the end of life.
Right. I honestly haven't heard anything about that, but I would assume, like, I keep track of technology news, so I suppose I should have heard of that, but I would assume if Microsoft is talking about phasing out of DevOps, then they tend to have a long support cycle all the same. So it would still be supported probably for a number of years, and they would introduce another solution which has an API as well, probably even better supported because they have excellent infrastructure. And you can all of your code here that resides here, it would within QualiWare, it still interacts with QualiWare objects. So you would just need to update the API call to whatever new solution Microsoft releases that replaces DevOps, and it would be able to get that information all the same, or modify that information just the same. So I'm confident that even if Microsoft phases out DevOps, this will continue to be valid moving forward.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. Okay, so this is a requirement model, and this is a requirement model template object in QualiWare, and these are requirements. And so now I want to show you how we can set. So I've already created some of these objects in DevOps, and I can show you for the purposes that I'm going to create some more and show you how the list is modified. So this is a list of DevOps work items that I've already created. And you can see that one of them is alerting and notifications, and with this description, and that corresponds to the same one in the diagram. The change information is when the work item was changed within DevOps, and its state, just as before. So you can see there's two work items created right now, and just show. So, by the way, this link it's a link back to QualiWare. So it's for your developers to be able to easily see the requirement objects in QualiWare. So it's to allow interoperability and strong integration. So let's try now. So obviously right here, there's there's 12 requirements. We only have 2 so far. We've added this one and alerting and notifications. And so let's add in another one. So how do we do that? We use content tabs to display information. Now to create information in DevOps, we're going to use a governance workflow. So sometimes it needs a refresh. Well, in this case, it worked right away. So you can see here's our 12 requirements. Each of these and again, this is HTML, JavaScript that created this HTML list with checkboxes and information and status. Right now it's in a pending status. So let's create one of these. So let's create real-time monitoring. We click submit. It says creating and done, or it would say failed if it didn't get created. Okay, so we'll close that. Let's go back to get DevOps work items. And there it is. So it's been updated within DevOps, and also we're getting that list back in QualiWare. And I'll be able to switch over to DevOps to show you that in a moment as well, so that you can see how we can modify these work items in DevOps and see those changes back in QualiWare. So, okay, so let's switch over to DevOps and take a look at these work items. So this is that project that I mentioned, the QWare demo project. If anybody's worked with Microsoft Planner before, the DevOps board is very similar to that. It's, a series of categories that can be customized, but usually you have a new, in progress, and done category for your developers to, work on an item and update it. So I just moved that item from this work item from called alerting and notifications to in progress. Let's take a look at it. So the state obviously changed. It was new and it now says in progress. Here's that description that came from QualiWare along with that link back to QualiWare. And I can show you that that is indeed a link back to QualiWare. But it looks like it's going to our, I'm working in our development environment, so it's going to our prod environment, but all the same, you can see it's going back to QualiWare. Anyway, let's update this description. Let's see. And we'll save those changes. Okay, so you can see that the description has been changed, the status has been changed. Now let's go. One thing I forgot to mention is that when the object is created, it also takes the object ID, the QualiWare object ID, and puts it in a custom field so that you always have a reference back to QualiWare of the exact object that was created. And as I said, this is a custom field that we created for this particular Scrum environment. So. Okay, so let's look at that here. We'll go back to it. There we go. And we can see that the status has changed to in progress and the description has been updated as well. Okay, so that's good. Now we can track what the requirements that we as business analysts we have as enterprise architects, we have created these requirements and sent them to our development team, and now we're able to track the progress that they're doing with them to make sure that they're progressing well and staying on target. So that's great. Now, let's say that we have an issue and we need to create a change request. So what do? Well, thankfully, QualiWare has a change request object. So this is one that I created, and it's actually tied back to that requirement object, which you can see right here. While that's loading, I can just show you a little bit of information. So for this change request object, we're putting that, so this is about the DevOps automated build pipelines. So we saw that requirement. So the action that we recommend, and this was recommended by Kevin O'Rourke in this case, and he recommended to modify the automated build pipelines and do a number of different tasks. And he recommended that on October 21st in this case. And the priority of this change request is critical. So that is to update a recommendation to update the priority of the work item as well. And that's important that the developers understand that this is a priority task and they need to get on this right away. So let's go look in DevOps and look at this this item here, this work item, and we can see that right now. Oh, sorry, I've already put in some change requests, so let's delete those and do it again. So right now the comment only has when the task was created. Now we need to put in a change request. And that will, when this comment is created, anybody that is assigned to this work item, any of your developers will receive whatever settings they have set up. So if they have it set to receive emails, they'll be notified right away, which is the default. So that's great. They'll be notified once your business team gives them the new requirements, the new change request. So let's make a change request now. So this is another governance workflow action. It says create DevOps change request. And sorry, it's cut off a little bit on the screen there, but that's what it says. And you can customize the naming as you'd like, of course. In the meantime, let's look at your list of comments for that given change request. So what this is doing is it's accessing that that object ID, so this requirement, which corresponds to that the work item ID in DevOps, and getting a list, returning all of the comments. And that way you can see that once your comment has been created, your change request has been passed to your developers, you can ensure that that's been passed along, and the details of that change request.
Michael, if you're
Sometimes
in
that happens.
DevOps and added a comment manually there that wasn't tied to a change request, would that show up back on the other side?
Absolutely, that's great. So let's do that as well. Let's test comments. And you might have seen that, by the way, when the comment is created by QualiWare, it's formatted using bolding, underlining, new lines to be a formatted clear change request, which has all of the information from this change request. So it will have the recommended action, recommended by information, priority, date, all clearly formatted so that your developers will be able to act on it clearly and quickly without issue. Okay. So I just created a comment, a test comment. So now let's go look if that was added to this list of comments. And there you go. So you see, once you've created your change request, then it will show up right away here so that you can keep track of all your changes. And the additional benefit of that, of course, is that you can view any responses that your developers might give back to you on, follow-ups to your comment, any discussion that they're having on that important work item that you've specified as high priority, so that you can ensure that they're dealing with it and that there's strong feedback and collaboration in that way. So yes, so that's the primary functionality that we've developed in QualiWare. I did actually create a couple of other change requests. This one is for another requirement, another work item, and it has another series of recommended actions, and that would work as well. Now I also created a change request that isn't tied to, it has a work item that doesn't exist. I was just to show you that if we try to get it, you can allow for error handling in this. So you can create custom feedback to your enterprise architects. It doesn't have to say this. It can say, work item doesn't exist or what have you. So you can tailor it to your needs, just replacing one line of text with another, and you're ready to go. So you can track all that information properly. So you ensure that you're passing the correct information from QualiWare to Azure DevOps in this case. In continuation of my demonstration, this is the change request that I had shown before that is in QualiWare. It's a change request object. And as I said, you can view the DevOps comments where we are holding change request items that are sent from QualiWare to DevOps. So I've already shown that feature. Now I'm going to show you how we can create a change request and send it to DevOps. And as I mentioned, it will be formatted with based on if we want to put bolding, underline, any formatting you want to add in the comment, you can do so to make it look presentable. Okay, so we've sent the change request to DevOps. Let's view it now. And there you go. So you see we've formatted it, including the proper information, recommended date, recommended person, improved priorities. So this is very critical, and the action that should be taken. And again, this is a URL from DevOps back to QualiWare. And we can also view that in DevOps. So if we go to that particular work item, we're going to see that the comment now shows up. And we could, for example, additionally, we could add another comment or edit that comment, test comment. Let's add this comment, and let's also modify this. Let's just say that understood. Okay, so now imagine the developer is responding back to the enterprise architect in this manner. Okay, so now this requirement has been updated. Let's look at it again in QualiWare. And you can see that the changes have taken effect. The other comment has been added, and that way there is intercommunication between both parties. And again, as I mentioned, once this change request has been sent from QualiWare to DevOps and the comment is created, anybody assigned to this this item would be able to receive a communication when that change is made, so that they'll be able to act on it right away. And then they'll be able to update any details, such as the improved priority, take action, and proceed with staying in touch with the business requirements. So that's it. I can show you one more example. So here's another change request. Let's again send a change request for this particular work item. And there you see it's been created again with its priority, action, who recommended it, and the date, all formatted, as well as when it was posted and who posted it. And we can look at that again to see that it actually took effect. So there we go. You see that it's all the same information, and that's it. Okay, so so that's the demonstration of this use case. Again, as I mentioned, we went over project status and configuration information, such as Agile and Scrum information, project names, went into work item, sprint information, overview of sprint information, and then went into work items for a given sprint, or a series of requirements that were created in QualiWare. From there, we created change requests on those requirements and read them again back in QualiWare, and that allowed us to have strong integration and alignment on project requirements and reduce miscommunication. So we're enhancing productivity in this way. Because I have really spoken to clients, and they've mentioned how they work with Azure DevOps a lot, and it's really unfortunate that they have an excellent suggestion, a business requirement. They put the funding into it, and they get they begin development, and then they find that it's completely gone off of scope, or it no longer fits the requirements, and they only found out months or, God forbid, years later. So that's what this will avoid, and that will enhance productivity and reduce cost greatly. So moving along, we also created, so these are additional suggested use cases. CloseReach won't be developing these internally, at least for the time being, but we're happy to assist with setting these up for you. And so these additional use cases that are based on the different APIs and what we studied as valid use cases for integration between DevOps and QualiWare are to map business processes into the user stories in DevOps, and so that we can map from business process diagrams and use case diagrams, as well as activity diagrams, into those different objects in DevOps, and allow integration in that manner, and to better reflect processes. The next use case would be to link from application components, so information systems, into with the GitHub repositories that you can access within Azure DevOps. So you can get access to information on when code was changed, or related to the DevOps pipeline. So when code was deployed, or what stage or version of code has been released. So you can get that kind of granular information if you'd like as well. And then the next one would be about dealing with compliance. So if you, within QualiWare, using compliance rules and policies, you can ensure that your business is compliant with regulations that you might have to follow. So ensuring that you meet requirements and that your developers follow those requirements can be fed back into QualiWare compliance templates to satisfy that, and you can also apply governance workflow on those compliance in QualiWare, so that you can have a workflow to track how those compliance go through their different cycle within QualiWare and then also within DevOps. And lastly, an example we looked at was accessing using dashboards and key performance indicators from QualiWare objects to take or to supply metrics to Azure DevOps. So you could get you can use those dashboards to take information, analytics information from DevOps, metrics on how your developers are working with their time, how long it takes to do a release, all of that information can be modeled and displayed in QualiWare. So yeah, so those are some valuable use cases we think that you might benefit from. Okay. So I'd like to say one other thing, because this isn't the end. This is just part of another step for us. From here, we're going to be moving on and exploring doing integration with Jira. So I know that a lot of development teams use Jira in addition to either whether they use it for ticketing separate from DevOps, or they use it as a replacement. Some teams are heavily involved with using Jira. So that's our next step, and there'll be more to come as well. So that's it for now. I hope you liked the presentation, and please feel free to reach out to me either now or later, and I'll be happy to go into more discussion on it. Thank you.
That's great, Michael. Thank you very much. All right.
Does anybody have any questions? Or anything I could break down a little bit, either in a less technical manner or something you wanted to? I hope I struck the right balance. Given that I'm a background as a developer, sometimes I go too much into the code, so hopefully I wasn't too boring.
I think we kept everybody. It's okay. Richard, did you
Good.
have a question? I see you have your hand up. I
Yes.
wasn't sure if that was an applause or a question.
No, question, not applause. I'm still having difficulty finding where those other reactions are. So firstly, thank you so much, Michael, for presenting that. That was great. I am actually very technical background, so I appreciate the level of technical presentation that you just gave. So just digging a little bit more into the weeds of how you have implemented this, those API calls and the building of those tables, there's no specific objects you're creating. I don't mean the built-in QualiWare objects, but I mean you don't have like a set kind of workflow or objects for those kind of Azure workflow items, are there? Or is it just strictly you're building a table and that's it? You don't care what kind of items are being displayed?
Well, so we haven't, so for example, here, we haven't created any QualiWare objects. I think is that what you're alluding to? Is
non-QualiWare objects. I mean, HTML objects or some sort of logical objects to be able to display this, right? But because you still have to interpret what Azure DevOps is giving back to you in those API calls, I'm just wondering if you know in those kind of items that you gave examples for, such as epics, features, and things like that in the workflow, they're not fixed, right? You just have a generic object for displaying any of those types.
Well, you can specify what type of object you want back. So it comes back as a variable in JavaScript that, so when you make an API call, you can specify, I only want features, I only want bugs, I only want this bug with a given ID. Or just for example, you could say, for example, this is a feature and it has the ID 175. So you could, you have granular control over what you return. And it does come back as a JavaScript variable. So you do then have to format how you want to display it in QualiWare using HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Yes.
Okay.
But we've already, yes. Sorry, please.
No, I was just reiterating to make sure I understand. So we still have to play with a bit of customization to display it then.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. But I do want to be clear that this is for example, if you want to make a table, really the solution that we'll be providing, it's more a question of just dragging and dropping a new, like once you get the API, say you want to update to a new API call, and so you would of course need to, and again we're happy to discuss assisting in that, but you would update the API call, it would return, and then you would, once you make the call to the API, it will allow you to access the variables that API has, and then they're stored in a variable, and you can just, from there, you can just update that. From there, there's the section of the code that just would allow you to update the title just as a string, and then specify which variable you want to go here. And that's it. Once you've updated the variable name, it will make this nice table for your new information. It's not a lot of development at all. It's just a couple of minor changes, really. And
kind
now
of
if
like what you
want
do going into Publisher to
Yeah.
set the different columns for the for a QRV, right? Same kind of thing. I mean, pretty simple.
Okay.
Yes.
No problem. No problem. Just as long as there's some sort of way to customize it or to be able to modify it just slightly, so we can do other types of display or other types of items. Okay, cool. Thanks. I'll let someone else have a chance to ask a question.
Yeah, and I do want to follow up on that just to say, like, there are other QualiWare objects that allow you to integrate JavaScript. For example, HTML content tables or content tiles. In this case, we use content tabs, but we're going to be investigating that further as well, and it would be a similar process of displaying that table within that other object. So yeah, there's really a lot of power that you have of just taking that JavaScript code and putting it into a few different object types and allowing you to see it in a number of different places within QualiWare if you desire to customize it further. And then so again, this is a table, but you could also display this as a list, or, I mean, it's effectively a web page. So you could add in images, you could add in whatever you want. If you want a desire to change the structure to match your organization's QualiWare environment, so you can make those changes just as you would with a web page to customize it. So yeah, you have that ability as well.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions for Michael while we have him here? Richard, your hand is up again.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just trying to be polite and giving someone else chance to ask a question. So I have another question, but this one obviously is a bit different. It's more about the future work with this integration. So I noticed that you used Azure API to be able to make calls to grab back information to display for these tables. Great, it's great that you have this. But digging deeper, I do know from experience that there's a much more powerful way of getting a lot of this information. So I'm coming from a background of AWS. This is for Azure, but Azure has an equivalent, the Azure command line interface, and it's much more powerful. So I'm just wondering, for the future of this integration, will you be, or will someone at QualiWare be coming up with a method to hook into that so that we could use some sort of SSH pre-auth or a service principal so that the QualiWare server or service can connect into Azure command line, right, with a restricted access account, just so that you could do all these type of things and even access even more complicated data sets that are in there. Because the Azure API right now is limited to the most common things you want, not necessarily everything you might want, right?
Right. So I've explored, as far as I can address some aspects of that. So as I mentioned, this is using a token, but I've also explored the use of a service principal, which is a more secure method, and there should be no issue with setting that up as well within your Azure environment and then integrating with your code. It is also the service principal token, as it were, is also, or ID code is also filled into the code in a similar manner, but then it's tied to your like to a sign-on, basically, to ensure that it's part of your organization. But so yeah, you definitely have the ability to integrate a service principal. As for using SSH and a command line solution, I would say that it's possible theoretically. I haven't explored it. The issue that I would question is whether your environment, because that sounds like a solution between the virtual machine that runs QualiWare and an SSH to your environment. So it might require some firewall configuration. Like you might need to reach out to your cloud team, is what I'm talking about. Don't quote me on that. Maybe it's a lot more straightforward than that, but it's worth exploring. Maybe it is very straightforward. But I do know that even with the API, so right now I'm demonstrating Azure DevOps API, but there's also the Azure Cloud Infrastructure API as an example. If you want more robust information, Microsoft has a whole suite of APIs, including Power BI, the cloud, where getting access to your virtual machine information or what have you. So, but I haven't explored about the SSH personally, so I can't comment on that directly. How possible that is within QualiWare.
But we'd be happy to do that through a task authorization or a small coaching buy off of the CloseReach website. That's a little deeper than we would say typically go, but definitely something that if there's enough interest around, we could probably put together a little working group on it.
No, that's great. I just like I said, it's about the future ability of what the QualiWare service can do for us, and just offering the ability to be able to use the Azure CLI as opposed to the library of Azure APIs, right? It's just a different way and flexibility to be able to access the system. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't think QualiWare has looked at that, to be honest. At that level right now, but that's definitely something that we can deploy somebody like Michael to help with. So.
Okay.
And as Michael said, we know a lot of departments do use Jira, so we're going to try to do something similar with Jira, to show how we might establish a good integration with that. QualiWare has an established ServiceNow integration. So, future stuff could be, Axios or Remedy, the shared services tool set. So, some different options there as well in terms of future integrations that we could potentially explore. James,
did you have a question, James? You've got your hand up.
Yeah, it's a quick question there. This is somewhat related to the integration part. Kevin, you mentioned earlier that there was a earlier or previous demo on integrating with the Power BI. Was that recorded? If so, can you send me the link of that video?
Yep.
Like take a look at it again. Yeah. Thanks.
That was using the HTTPS service, right, Mike?
Yeah, it was in one of our
that
user
was-
group meetings, James. So it should be up on our YouTube channel, but I'll have a look and send you the link.
Yep. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
To
Sorry,
my knowledge, Kevin, that
Michael, I cut you off.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, so to my knowledge, that was using a shareable link within DevOps or sorry, within Power BI that created a report which was put into an HTML embedded tile within QualiWare. So that way you could access your Power BI report from QualiWare. So it's a more simple to create solution, but less, where the most of the work is done by Microsoft to create that solution, and then QualiWare,
the Power
QualiWare
BI
allows.
dashboard, all the movable sliders and all that kind of stuff. You're doing that in Power BI, but using QualiWare to distribute, make it easy for people to find that thing without having to go into Power BI. Go into QualiWare, and here it is right on your desktop. So.
Yeah, that's the idea we have in mind. So we'd like to review it and try it out.
Yep. No worries.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank
Great.
you very much. Any other questions for Michael before he gets off the hot seat?
Like I said, feel free to reach out to me as well. I'm going to continue to be exploring this and further integrations. So if you have an idea, I would love to hear from you. It's really interesting to be able to see what can be done with the power of QualiWare. So yeah.
Thank you, sir. All right. Yes, Kevin, you look like you're about to say something.
Nope. Go ahead. I was going to say 10.9.2.
Yes, 10.9.2 is out, as we mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, and we have downloaded the files. We're having a look at them right now and starting to review what has been fixed. And I believe there are 3 things that we reported fixed, but I believe there might be something from prior release that has also been fixed. So we've got some work to do to review all of the release notes. That's the word I'm trying to find. Sorry. We've got some work to do to look at the release notes and then let everybody know. But we will be sending out the link to download the files tomorrow, and there'll be a little bit more information in that email. And then we'll be in touch with our testing results over the next few days. The next meeting, as Kevin mentioned at the beginning of this call, is going to be on the 2nd of December. So you will see an invitation come out in November to register for that, and let us know if you're planning on stopping by or going to attend online. Please tell all your friends. We always have a fun user group meeting, so you want to invite your friends, you can invite your friends, and we look forward to seeing you then. If you have any ideas or thoughts about things that you would like to be covered here, please feel free to reach out and make suggestions. We're always looking for ideas to make these meetings interesting to you. Today's session, I think, generated a fair amount of interest from everyone. So if there are other things that you'd like to have discussed or presented, please feel free to reach out to me or Kevin or Michael directly and make those suggestions. I don't think I have anything else at the moment. I think that's it for today. So thanks very much for everybody joining. It was nice to see you all. Hope you enjoyed the session. That's it, everybody. Thanks so much.